About 2 years ago, I brought you a review of the LCI 2023 BMW X3 xDrive 30i. And now we are standing here next to the brand new X3. This is the 2025 X3 30 xDrive. Yes, it's a different name. We'll get to it in a minute. So this is the all new, fully revised, brand new generation of BMW's most potent selling model. The X3 is BMW's bread and butter. In today's market, to really make it, you have to have a good mid-size crossover offering, and the BMW X3 has always excelled at that. So this new X3 is definitely a high-stakes gamble. They have to get it right, otherwise the company goes to the toilet, basically. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. They have other cars, so if this X3 sucks, there are other cars you can get. But on paper, it seems like it's definitely an improvement. The new X3 houses basically the same powertrains as the outgoing model, but they're slightly updated. They both have mild hybrid technology, and they both offer exclusive all-wheel drive. There's no rear-wheel drive X3 anymore. Some of you actually might be surprised to know that there was ever a rear-wheel drive X3, but there used to be offered one. Now you can only get it with xDrive. So on paper, it seems like it'll be better. Mild hybrid technology, some power improvements, but basically the same proven powertrains, so you know what you're gonna get when it comes to reliability and maintenance and running costs, things like that. But each powertrain is a little bit more spicy. So the base model in America for right now is the 30 xDrive, which is what we have here. But if you manage to pony up an extra $15,000, you can step up to the M50, which is the current highest performance version of the X3. It houses the B58 twin-scroll turbo 6-cylinder engine that develops just under 400 horsepower. But let's be honest, 95% of X3 customers are going to be buying cars exactly like this. This is a basic sport level X3, not M Sport. There is no M anywhere on this car, and it's the base powertrain. Most people are going to be settling for something like this. Let's take a review type tour of the 25 X3 30 xDrive. We start at the back. Now, once again, it's worth noting this is the basic level X3, the bottom of the barrel, you could say, the most cost-effective one. So these start around $50,000, and if you get a top-level M50, that can stretch you over $70,000. So this is a bit more reasonable right here. And as you can see on the back there, this car is the X3 30 xDrive. And that leads me into explaining the whole name change. The previous generation X3 equivalent to this one was the X3 xDrive 30i. This one is the X3 30 xDrive. BMW has decided that having I at the end of their regular cars doesn't really make much sense in the modern era. That I used to mean that the car was fuel injected, and BMW hasn't made anything that wasn't fuel injected that was powered by petrol or diesel in like 40 years, so it didn't really make that much sense anymore. So what they're doing is they're repurposing the I. The I is gonna go to the front of the whole letter name thing that they do on the electric cars. So the electric 3 Series will be the i330 or the i340. The regular 3 Series will be the 330, 340. Makes sense? That's why this is called the X330, and the top level one is the X3 M50. So useless car trivia fact number 1, there you go, you're welcome. All right, let's talk through some of the improvements of the new X3. Most notably is the fact that it has a much larger cargo area back here. Previous X3 was good, but it wasn't best in class. This has a much better chance of being equivalent to the other cars that are good back here, which are, I don't know, but it's got more cargo area, that's the point. There's more room back here for your luggage and your stuff than there was in the outgoing X3, which is an improvement. Stepping in the back now, mostly kids will be back here, of course, but sometimes you'll have to ferry your tall friends around. I moved this passenger seat quite far back, equivalent to the driver's seat where I would sit driving this car. And my knees are definitely touching, which is about the same as the old X3. And I have just barely enough headroom. I think it might be a little bit less than the old X3. What I remember from the old X3 is that it was fine. It was okay, there was nothing really to complain about. And again, you'll mostly be putting kids back here. So you should be fine with that. Fold down this center armrest and you have some cup holders with tabs in them, which is very good and very nice to see. If you look forward, you see 2 USB-C outlets and these weird looking vents. Rear climate is an option on this car. It is something that you can get. This one just has vents and some sliders to control them. Not really that much. It would be cool. Honestly, I would like to see every X3 have rear climate, but vents is something, I guess. And here, that's where you have the basic setup if you spend no money on your rear seat passengers and their experience, I guess. This door panel starts to highlight a bit of this car's interesting side, which is the interior. The interior has been completely redesigned, just as the exterior has. And it's been designed, I would say, inspired by the BMW iX. The iX had a very futuristic looking interior, and this car takes that theme and changes it up a little bit, makes it a little bit more normal, I guess you could say. So you have normal, regular door handles right here that are plastic. We'll get to interior quality in a second. And Harman Kardon speakers. These seats are the beige leather seats that you can get, and they have orange stitching in them, which is kind of weird. You wouldn't notice unless you look closely, but it's orange stitching on the seats, which is a decision. Moving from the back seat, we arrive up front, where if you're watching this car considering buying one, you will be sitting. You sit down, look forward, and you notice this car, being in its non-M Sport state, has a 2-spoke steering wheel. Ignore the annoying lawnmower out there, I didn't plan this well. I think this steering wheel first arrived in the iX. Again, this interior is sort of iX inspired. And it's here in the X3. On the right, you have a little control that you can use to adjust your digital gauge cluster. You can show a lot of different things in the center. Your basic information like your speed, trip computer information, your map, G-force meter, okay, and your music. Also, you can change the layout of the whole gauge cluster. You can configure it a decent amount, more than you could in the old X3, that's for sure, but it is not that much more configurable than the old X3. It's still somewhat of an improvement, just not as much of an improvement as you would maybe want. Moving from that, you go to the infotainment system, which is BMW's latest, very brand new, looks exactly the same as the old one, iDrive operating system 9. And it's an improvement, a big improvement over what the old X3 had, which was iDrive 7, except for one big thing, which I'll get to in a second. You have this main menu where you can have a map taking up most of the screen. On the left, you can have a couple different widgets you can switch out, which is nice. It's really good crystal quality, looks beautiful, nice and bright. Unfortunately, just as with iDrive 8, the climate control functions are shoved into a submenu here, but honestly, you get used to them, not that big of a deal. You can do a lot of stuff with this infotainment system, and as with iDrive 8, there's 1,000 million different apps in here, which can make things pretty complicated. I mean, if I just want to turn the auto stop start system off, which is something that you might want to do often, you have to go into the infotainment, select your apps, move down to driving settings, and you can only deactivate auto stop start once, which is annoying, but everyone's doing that. If you move down to the center console, there is a button behind the iDrive controller, which yes, there is still an iDrive controller here. They took it out of the X1 and the X2. Those are just touchscreen. You have to put up with that. You still have it here in the X3, so that's pretty nice to see. But the point is, you select My Modes, and you go into BMW's whole drive mode thing. So you have Personal, which is a configurable mode, Sport, obvious, Efficient, obvious, Expressive, Relax, Digital Art, and Silent mode. Silent is new, so I hit Silent, and it says concentrate on the most important things in a peaceful atmosphere. Sure, okay. But when you change between drive modes, just as with the other newer BMWs, the whole ambient lighting and lighting in general changes. This styling element around here, around the cup holders, changes color. So does this part of the dashboard here where your hazard lights are, and around the door handles. It all changes color to mimic the mode that you're in. And you can also go into the settings for each of these modes and change things a little bit more if you want to. But the fact is, you have all these experience modes now. Some of them change the driving characteristics, some of them only change the ambient light and the displays like digital art, and some of them change the lighting in the interior, like Relax closes the moonroof cover. So it's honestly nice, and I always like having these modes. In the electric cars, the modes change the noise that the car makes when it accelerates, and that's, I think, where the whole experience mode thing is best executed, is in those cars. In this car, it's fine. It's there. What is also there, though, digital premium. So BMW, very, very controversially, I might add, has decided that some features should be payable via subscriptions and things like that. I think the X3, the new X3, is the first car to have implemented that. If you try to explain it on their perspective, you could say, well, everyone's doing subscription services now. It's a good business decision. Some people can buy a cheaper X3 and then get the features later when they decide that they want it. And honestly, dealerships can probably use that as a bit of a negotiating tool. You could say, well, if you buy this X3, we'll throw in 2 free years of digital premium for you, something like that. So you can kind of understand why you did it. I bet every other company right now is looking at that thinking, that is such a smart idea, let's do it too. And now it's just gonna happen. So either BMW shuts this down if enough people complain, or it spreads like wildfire to all the other cars. So this is where you're seeing it first, and it's not gonna go away. My personal opinion is that it's ridiculous, it's unfair, it's infuriating, and I'm so tired of these stupid subscription services, but it's here in your car. You're gonna have to pay for some stuff. Right now it seems like it's only just for media things like watching YouTube, watching different sorts of movies and stuff like that from your car when it's parked. Also, you have AirConsole Games. So you can play games in your X3 just like in your Tesla. So I just went into AirConsole Games, accepting the terms and conditions. Let's see what we have here. Bring up this thing with a QR code. You can scan your phone and you use it as a controller, which that is a very good thing that I absolutely love to see. It's a fun little gimmick. Tesla started it by making their infotainment systems fun and quirky with the whole games, and then there's Rainbow Road and all this other stuff, Campfire, and now BMW is doing it. So you can play games in your car with your passengers, and that's smashing. That's absolutely really cool. Just hope that because it's underneath digital premium, you don't have to pay monthly for it, because if you do, then don't bother. Also, there's a couple other funny Easter eggs that I've encountered in this infotainment system. So I'm scrolling through the apps and I found Happy Halloween, and it's got a little present icon. So I press that and it shows me this absolutely hilarious animation. I'm glad I chose to do a video on this car before Halloween. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found this absolute gem of a Happy Halloween video that they put into your car. Who knows how long they've been doing that? Maybe it's brand new on the new X3. Maybe it's not, but I just found it. I wanted to show you guys because it's funny. Let's talk through a little bit more of this interior. You have this, again, light up styling feature that surrounds the cup holders, which are quite deep and have tabs in them, so they're very good. Forward from that, you have a big storage area there with 2 USB-C outlets, and it's also wireless charging too. You can throw your phone in there and it'll charge your phone for you, which is very nice. Now, one thing in the new X3 that is not an improvement over the old one, it's actually the opposite of an improvement, is the interior build quality. Take these turn signal stocks, feel cheaper. I don't like these new age BMW turn signal stocks because they just feel kind of flimsy and plasticky and cheap. And you can find cheap feeling plastic a lot of places that you look. And to be honest, this is again, a lower level X3, so maybe it's better on the M50. I haven't tried one yet, but it's there. So this plastic door handle doesn't feel all that nice. And this panel in front of it houses the air vent control, the memory seats, and the unlock and lock button. And it's not screwed in very well. There's no other word for it. You can move it. You can rattle it around and it's just loose. It's plasticky and it feels very cheap. And the fact that you can move it around like this, I feel like I could just break it off with my hand. It's not good. So interior quality is not an improvement over the old X3. Everyone's recognizing that, and that's the big complaint point with this new X3 over the old car. So it's unfortunate, but this panel here, as long as you don't touch it, keep your hands off of it, you'll be fine. Overall, the old X3 had better interior quality. This one has better infotainment and better design, better ambient lighting, and it has these cool console games. But if you have to pay for it, then don't bother. All right, let's have a look at the engine. All right, once again, I have to apologize for the annoying lawnmowers. Didn't plan this well, so just bear with me and we'll get behind the wheel. So underneath the hood of the new X3, you can see a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, the same B48, I'm sure, as the X3, previous X3 had. But in this car, it incorporates mild hybrid technology and has a slight boost in power. The old X3 had 248 horsepower. The new one has a whopping 7 horsepower increase. It makes 255 horsepower, which more is better. The reliability of this engine seemingly is all right. BMW's reliability on Consumer Reports has gone up quite a bit. So I imagine because this is the engine that's in everything, it's totally fine. The fact that it incorporates mild hybrid technology comes with another improvement for this car, I'm sure, which is fuel economy. It'll do better on gas because the whole mild hybrid setup can help it along. Not sure how the whole system works, but just know a little bit more power and it'll definitely have improved fuel economy. But if that's not enough, 15 grand more will buy you the M50 with nearly 400 horsepower from the B58 turbocharged 6-cylinder. I can't stand this annoying lawnmower anymore, so let's take this car out and drive it. Time to drive the new X3. Here we go. Now, I noticed this mild hybrid technology improvement right away when I press start engine stop, and there's no starter noise. No starter noise. The car just comes alive. And that'll be an improvement in the areas where you want an improvement with this car, which is fuel economy and usableness, I suppose. So let's take out the X3 for a drive. Now, the thing about the X3 is that even though it is a BMW, it's an X3. There's nothing really to how it drives, at least in the base model, which is what I'm driving again. So I expect the 30 xDrive to not set my pants on fire. When it comes to noise, the engine's quiet. The engine is also smooth and idle. It's got an 8-speed automatic gearbox, which, as it was in the X3 before, smart, works totally fine. Shifts are all really smooth. It's easy to drive and pretty quiet in here, honestly. Quieter than the outgoing X3, I would say. Not by that much of a noticeable amount, but I would say that it seems a little bit quieter from where I'm sitting. Honestly, the mild hybrid helps because it turns off the engine at a stoplight, very annoying. But when you take your foot off the brake, it starts it almost without you noticing. It's such a smooth transition to turning the car back on. And ride comfort is really nice. It's very comfortable, which I like that. So I would say so far in driving dynamics, it's an improvement, not a huge improvement. The old X3 was good out on the road, and so is this one. Let's put my foot down here. Yeah. Not enough power to stir up the emotions, but it's fine. Again, I'm driving along on a road here, 40 miles an hour. The sound is very quiet. There's a little bit of wind noise, not that much tire noise, and it's quiet and very relaxing from where I'm sitting. The ride comfort is also exactly how I would want. None of the bumps are making it into the cabin in an intrusive or annoying or frustrating type of way, but it also doesn't handle too bad. It has some body roll for sure, a little bit of body motion, and the steering is dead, but through turns it holds its own better than what you'd expect for a car of this type. So the X3 still has those on-road dynamics that it was always known for. Doesn't stir the emotions that much when you put your foot down, but for driving every day, it's absolutely totally fine. I wouldn't change anything about this daily driving experience in this car, and I mean that. It drives very well, very competently for just everyday regular driving. I would say it's an improvement over the old car. It's just a shame that the digital premium service, the whole subscription thing, is starting, and honestly I thought they were going to cancel that, but I can see it here, evidence clear as day that they didn't cancel it, and the interior quality is just not where I would want it to be. I expect more from the BMW X3 than what this car has to offer on interior quality. But it's an improvement in tech, it's an improvement in infotainment, ambient lighting, it's an improvement in noise and comfort and everyday usability. It's an improvement when it comes to being on paper with better fuel economy, I'm sure, more power, a little bit more easy acceleration and usage with that mild hybrid, and like I said, it's comfortable, it's good. The new X3 is still a very good car. There's just a couple little things with it that I'm not really that big of a fan of. But I think most people who are in the market for a car like this will receive this new X3 just as well as they did the old one. As always, everybody, like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.